sometimes you really do have to just dumb your game down. As crazy as that sounds, because everybody wants to get in this huge thinking battle, chess battle in their brain. But a lot of the time, you're really actually out thinking yourself and hurting your game more than how much you think you're helping it. Because so many people are just playing their own value of their hands. And when you get into that third level thinking with someone who's not on the same page as you, you're actually doing yourself more harm than good. Um, for example, uh, my buddy was telling me about a hand where he had three bet with aces and ended up flopping top set, and he actually outleveled himself to win a very, very small pot. When in all actuality, he should have just been going for straight value because the player wasn't that he was up against was not very good, and would have been willing to go along for a large pot, but he was trying to basically represent that he had a much weaker hand than he really did, and it just he ended up winning a very small pot in comparison to what he should have won, and that's why it's so important. And poker will always be about people, and I can't preach that enough because so many people are everyone's so into the math and hand value range and playing position and all this stuff, which is it's really really important. All this stuff to improve, super important. And I'm teaching all that stuff too, the mechanics. Uh, to add each one to your game will stack your improvement and will give you a smaller edge each time you improve each little thing. And that's why you should be subscribing to my channel. You should be commenting and talking about things and watching the videos or watching other people's videos and putting in the training time, because every little thing you can do to train yourself will keep stacking edges in your favor, and it will give you a little extra something than just playing time. Everyone just thinks, experience and playing time, but you have to learn from other people's mistakes a lot of the time, and you're gonna speed up your own learning process by watching other people and have them explain situations. And it's literally one of the smartest things you can do. So for those of you out there who are watching my videos, you know, my hat goes off to you. Your learning curve is gonna increase, tenfold. You're gonna be learning situations much much faster, much easier. This is a pretty easy c bet spot, and actually a small c bet is good enough on a super dry board like that. Jack isn't a terrible card for me to bluff. However, I'm probably just giving up. I just don't think 4-1 dog is giving me a ton of credit. Um, he's gonna show up with ace X here a lot of the time. I don't really think he has like king queen 10 or something, but okay, so that's either, straight value with like top two a set queen 10, or he missed with like 4 or 5 deuce something. Um, but I have sevens and I'm gonna be folding. Um, I think the vast majority of the time a pot size bet there would be for value. Because he doesn't put me on top two or better by my check back, so he could be doing that with a pretty wide value range, to be honest. And there's just not very many bluffs that he could have in that spot. So that would definitely be a losing play, I think, to be raising or calling. Obviously, calling doesn't make very much sense unless I just really had the sickest read ever and thought he had 4 or 5 deuce 9 or some bullshit. So we are not getting too many hands at the moment. But we are going to play. We do have the button, so we're probably going to go for a 3-bet. Yay! Yeah, love the button. All right. Who doesn't like the button? Okay, so 4-1 dog has been leading into me every single cutoff, and let's see if I can get another 3-bet in. I'll see if he does it again, or if he finally adjusts and just limps. Oh, he min raises. Gives me another opportunity. And we are going to play another 3-bet pot with some large stacks. Okay, so I flop bottom two, backdoor spades. I think that I'm basically forced to bet in this spot um, for a couple of reasons, which I'll explain. The turn, there's no protection cards that I can really have except for a deuce or a three, which would shut it down. And then in a spot like this, if I get raised, obviously I could fold. Okay, I have a four blocker to the straight. Shavur Door, his range would be like top pairs with other runners, like Jack 8, 9, 10 or something like that. Um, the straight draws, the 4 5, but I do have a 4 blocker, and then like over pairs and the flush draws. That was obviously a good card. I made the second nut straight, and his range doesn't contain 7 8 very often. Obviously, I'm going to be betting for value, but the question is how much. Um, and sometimes he did make a straight here, but not with the 7, so I'm going to go for $99. I think that's proper. Um, he obviously missed either second nut or nut flush draw, or he had an overpair that he just hated the river. I mean, that would make sense as well, like queens or jacks or something. But I don't recommend in Omaha check calling out a position with overpairs very often unless the board is really in your favor. It just gets really, really difficult if you're up against a good player that is barreling to be playing against. Wow, we got a pretty good hand. Limp raising this kind of hand is actually really good. I just don't know if someone will raise. We can try it. No, I don't think anyone will raise. Um, it's not very likely at 50-cent dollar to get in limp raises too often unless there's a crazy player. It happens a lot more at higher stakes. Just because so many people try and take advantage of limpers, and especially people those multi-tabling don't even realize who just limped. They barely even notice my name, and then they just see the limp, and then they're like, raise, I have position, and then you can get in your limp raise, which is awesome. So I flop bottom pair, backdoor nut spades, and an open ender, the nut open ender. Um, an okay hand. However, I don't want to be building a pot with it. So much of the time, there's going to be other straight draws, and even with flush draws or two pairs on this kind of board, even sets a lot of the time, and you definitely do not want to stack off with this kind of hand. Um, those transitioning from Hold'em over to Omaha, uh, overplay hands like pair plus straight draw, pair plus flush draw, and the value just goes way down in Omaha unless you have the nuts, like nut draws to everything. So we make two pair. Um, that's a really good bluff card for me. Um, I'm just not sure if he's okay. So I have to give myself room to bluff river, um, because the majority of the time when he has two pair in this spot, or a set, he's just gonna call this turn, and I want him to have enough on the river to be able to fold. That's the whole issue. And it's okay, and he just folds in that spot. So even though I have two pair there, this is like a pretty controversial issue. So my actual value was two pair, which most people, would think is like you don't want to turn that into a bluff, but my relative hand value there is bad compared to his range. So my two pair there is beat like 80 and 90% of the time on that turn by his hand range. However, what my perceived range can be um, has him beat a lot of the time, and that's why I turned it into a bluff there. So that can get really confusing. I don't want to confuse the shit out of you guys, especially for those in smaller levels. Um, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can out level yourself. So if you're playing 5, 10 cent or even 10.25. Be careful with